US tech and growth stocks have taken quite the beating so far this year, and in fact, for the first part of the year, the S&P 500 was having its worst start ever. The bears are finally back in charge of what's been the longest bull run of all time since the end of the financial crash.
Sell, sell, sell. Rates flying higher. Sell, sell, sell.
However, with every downturn does come the opportunity, because if you do get a chance to buy good businesses at a discount, then why not take it and then ride things out in the long term? At least that was kind of what my thinking was when I started this portfolio. And here's what I've bought. Let's run through each different one and I'll show you so far. So let's start from the top, and we'll start with Meta first, which of course is a rebranding from Facebook. I think this one seemingly now is like a bit of a controversial stock, because I think a lot of people potentially have fallen out of favor with the stock itself, as there were concerns about that kind of slowing down of growth in user numbers, because it's already a massive monster itself. How much further can this company actually grow? However, I thought I'd take advantage of that dip, because at the end of the day, if you look at some of the financials and the fundamentals of the business, I think it's very, very strong indeed, especially if you look at some of the profit numbers and of course how much cash this giant actually produces. If we just look forward with this company, we can see a PE currently of 15, so there is definitely some value there in this company at the moment. From a high level perspective, it's extremely profitable. If you've ever looked into this business, we've got gross margins of over 80% and net income of 30% once you take out all of those other costs to run this business. There's definitely those concerns around the growth and those active users not growing. However, I think that kind of misses the point around how much more growth there is out there in exploiting those users. And if you dive deep into the figures, you'll see how much potentially they make per person in the US versus the rest of the world. And that rest of the world is still growing a hell of a lot. So although Facebook usage and people like me certainly have deleted my Facebook many, many years ago, I think there's plenty of opportunity out there in the rest of the world if we exclude the United States, and there's a huge market out there. Secondly, which is probably not a bit of a great thing to take away, but people definitely are concerned with the whole metaverse venture, and you either kind of love this or hate this. Now, personally, the metaverse for me is a huge opportunity. How far away this is, I think we're probably a lot further away than we expect from all of the whole vision of living in some kind of metaverse. I do have an Oculus headset. I've had it for a while, and I've used virtual reality for a lot of my gaming as well. So I kind of get that as a consumer, but how that translates into lots of money is going to be another story. Also, there are concerns here with this business of losing quite a lot of money funding Reality Labs, which is that side of the business focusing on the metaverse. So they lost $10 billion last year and around $6 million the year before. So that's a huge chunk of change. So that business, although growing revenue top line, is losing a hell of a lot of money, because it costs a hell of a lot of money to create basically another world. So huge potential here in my opinion. I think it's been unfairly beaten down by institutions and retail investors. Let's see, we'll ride this out one for the long term. We'll see if they can keep increasing those user numbers, but more importantly, trying to extract per user and the amount of money that they've got coming out of that user base. And let's not forget, of course, they also own things like WhatsApp, one of the most important communications apps in the whole world. Next up, let's talk about PayPal. You would have all heard about these. No doubt you've probably been a customer like me for many, many years. This, of course, company spun out from eBay many, many years ago. Used to be that preferred checkout method of eBay, if you do remember. Of course, PayPal's all about being a digital payments processor, so being able to accept different cards and different accounts for you. And then really PayPal's all about trying to enable your business customers to be able to take payments and take those credit card payments, which actually is a lot more difficult than you expect if you don't outsource that and try and do all of that yourself. So PayPal makes things extremely easy. And from a consumer perspective, if you think about it, if you were just shopping like on a new website, for example, and this was the first time you were on that website, it looked a bit shady and you want to trust it. But if they accepted PayPal, then you're much more likely to move ahead with that. It's a big old business with over 426 million active accounts at the moment. And they also own a really popular consumer grade app called Venmo. So I don't really think it's something we really use here in the UK, but it's things, of course, in the US, which you'll do with splitting bills or even sending money to friends. I guess kind of like a mini Monzo or something like that. But either way, they've got a huge future ahead of them. There's a massive addressable market. In fact, they estimate the payments industry to be around the 100 trillion mark, which of course counts all the stuff in stores as well, I believe. And they are branching out into other business sectors like buy now, pay later. I've used PayPal credit myself as well, so you can split kind of 4 interest-free payments if you want, or also you can actually use their credit facilities too. Like the other tech stocks, there was a broader sell-off, but of course in their Q4 results, there were net new active accounts down 33%, earnings per share was down 49% in Q4, and their expected revenue growth is around 15 to 17% this year, and their earnings per share is expected to be a little bit lower than analyst estimate. But for now, I think there's plenty of value to be had. You just got to look at the strength of this company's balance sheet and the strength of the financials. There's plenty of money coming in, plenty of opportunity. The only issue is whether, of course, competition comes into this space, and which I'll touch on that in a bit. Before I do jump over to the next holding though, please don't forget to drop me a like on the video, and please comment below, especially if you want to see some regular portfolio updates on this account, as I'll probably look to try and do them monthly. Also, if you do want to start your own portfolio on Lightyear, then please follow the link in the description below, and we both get $10 worth of free stock, so I can go ahead and buy some more PayPal or something like that. Anyway, on to the next one. So let's talk about Block, formerly Square. Now this is an interesting one because you might firstly think, well, you've got PayPal, so why would you want Block? We, if anything, are trying to compete with these guys. And in essence, yes, absolutely, they are going to operate in that similar payment space. But I think Block, or formerly Square, have a few different aspects that quite appeal to me at the moment. If you don't know anything about the company, of course, it was founded by Jack Dorsey, who's popular, of course, you would know about founding the platform Twitter. It's got a couple of different arms which interest me, and there's a couple of other things which it owns which you may not be aware of as well. So they actually own Tidal, the music service, and they also own Cash App, which again, like Venmo, is not necessarily used here in the UK, but used massively over in the US, again, to send money between individuals, to make payments in stores as well. And of course, Square has come from the ability to actually enable small businesses to take payments. So you would have seen some, especially in the UK actually, with small businesses, you might have seen these little Square payment devices, which I'll put on screen now, which no doubt you've seen already. And then of course, it's not just taking payments, but it's helping managing those small businesses as well. So you get that entire point of service, point of sale machine at the counter to enable people to run their business. So a couple of interesting things that you may or may not know. Randomly, they've got around 8,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So at current value, it's around $330 million. So depending on your view of cryptocurrency, you may see this as either a huge opportunity, or you may see this as a massive red flag and run the hell away from it. So I'll leave that one up to you. Personally, I'm more bullish on this one, especially if they're going to hold this one for a very long amount of time. Who knows, if that 10x's, that could end up being a huge part of the business. It might even take over the rest of it. Now, in terms of fundamentals and valuation, I think this company did see a run up, which was probably a bit overexcited, over-exaggerated. So of course, it's come back down to earth a little bit now. I do think potentially it's probably still quite expensive. It's definitely the more speculative bet in this, I will admit that one. It's definitely got some pretty eye-watering multiples if you look forward. But I think, again, like PayPal, in that space of digital payments and enabling businesses to take those digital payments and trying to be that center of digital wallet, from a consumer perspective as well as a business perspective, there is opportunity there. So now it's really, balls in their court to see what they can do. The company's not going to go anywhere either. It's got a very strong balance sheet. They've got plenty of cash. They're generating lots of money and pumping that back into the business too. And of course, Bitcoin's price is going to be part of that one in the future. Oh yeah, and don't forget, of course, that investment in crypto is of course a whole new play, not just to hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet, but of course as well to try and facilitate potentially payments in cryptocurrency in the future too. Whether or not that happens, wait and see. Next up, Google. Need I say any more on this one really? So I think you all know who Google is. Not only is the largest owner of the global internet search market, but also the second largest market too, with YouTube, which we're all watching now. And then of course, you've got the whole ecosystem around Google Maps, the Android operating system, of course, on all your different devices. They're even doing a bit now with that company Wing, looking at those drone deliveries. I mean, overall, this business is phenomenal. Again, a massive cash generating machine. You look at great margins, strong gross margins, but also net margins are really, really good, around the 29% mark. You've got super high amounts of assets on the balance sheet, virtually no debt, and ultimately the future is pretty bright for this big beast. The only downsides really, if you can think about it, it has seen a big run up really, especially since those March lows, but the financials do kind of back it up all the way. I think the company is going to do pretty well, regardless if we do kind of enter into a bit of a downturn, a bit of a recession over the next couple of years. And if anything, I can see that whole digital advertising space growing, especially as they move away from things like traditional media in radio and television. And we're only seeing more and more of this as platforms like YouTube grow. So lots to watch out for. And now finally, last but not least, and it's crazy, already in the short amount of time I've owned the company, over 20% up on my Tesla portfolio already. I do have some more Tesla over on my Hargreaves Lansdowne account, so do check that one out after this one if you want to interested in that one. Because I think on that platform, I'm up over 150% or something like that on that one, which is just ridiculous. Anyway, now I'm definitely not some mega fanboy of the company or some Tesla maxi who thinks it's going to the moon and going to reach $10 trillion, but I do appreciate the quality of the business. Regardless of what you want to say about it, the margins are extremely healthy, it's growing extremely rapidly and has huge potential to grow in various different markets. Now, I think if you want to put a cynical hat on and be more critical of the company, we need to see where that growth is coming from. We need to actually see some revenue from those spaces in, of course, energy generation, in the robotics, in self-driving, and all of these aspects. Because at the moment, you could probably argue that that's all potentially already been priced in. And I think there's going to be huge pressure on the company to make sure they consistently keep delivering quarter over quarter and year over year of good results. So don't forget, we've also got that stock split coming up with this company, which ultimately I think is just going to mean we're going to see a huge amount of new retail investors jumping into this stock. And also I think we're going to see a huge amount of options traders on this stock as well, because it's already a very, very popular stock with options traders and people looking to make a quick buck. So what will this do to kind of volatility and everything like that? Who knows, but I think it's going to be a very, very bumpy ride from here on. Anyway, I'm holding on for dear life, but I won't be selling anything anytime soon, but we'll keep everyone updated. Anyway, so that's the whole portfolio so far. I'm looking to build this one out over the long term, like I said. Bear in mind that it's just in a general investing account, so it is taxable with any UK allowances that we've got here. And in the long term, I'd eventually like to get everything into an ISA, but kind of watch this space. I know Lightyear are working on getting ISA accounts sorted, so be ready for that one probably now in the next financial year. So we'll keep a track on that one. If you do want to get yourself started on the platform, I've already done a complete review, which you can watch here, either one side, or if you want to see one of my portfolios, I'll leave a link here, which has the whole playlist of all of my different portfolio updates. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to drop me a like if you've enjoyed the video and subscribe for many more. And as always, happy investing.